Hi, and it's Lilia and Jonathan from the Health Hub here, and we're here to tell you all about red light therapy, another biotherapy that's available here at the Health Hub.
Fabulous. So you've had your PEMF, you've had some pulse magnetic stimulation, which is preparing the red blood cells for oxygen. You've had a 20-minute session maybe on exercise with oxygen therapy, and then you're going to have a delightful 20 minutes relaxing in a full-length light bed. And I think I'm right in saying we're the only centre in Scotland which has a full-length light bed. It is all made possible by another NASA invention, light-emitting diodes, LEDs as we know them, and they're marvellous because you can choose the specific wavelengths that they can see in the lab are what cells are responding to. So wonderful. And in the end, we're talking about wavelengths, which is your favorite subject, and frequencies, yes, which are available in natural sunlight, Dr. Sunshine. And where are we sitting now? We're sitting inside an environment with no natural light of any sort. We're under artificial lighting. We get no infrared. And people are kind of aware that they need ultraviolet for vitamin D, but we're not really thinking about infrared. We've got no incandescent light bulbs anymore. People don't use open fires or stoves so much. They have central heating or something. And so infrared light turns out to be incredibly healing. And one of the areas that we've done some helpful trials on are people with Parkinson's, for example. Yes. So just dodge in and out of the technology, but also the conditions that it can help. So it turns out that because near infrared light, which we can't see, actually penetrates flesh and bone, everything. It goes right into you, like big time.
It comes out the other side.
And can even come out the other side, can be measured coming out the other side. How exciting. So we know it's going right through everything, and that means that it can help the brain. So we discovered that in Australia, they were doing tests with people with Parkinson's. They were wearing helmets with LEDs in, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night, and they were getting results after 3 months. So when I realized that we had all the same usable frequencies here in our light bed, and indeed with a desktop unit made by a company in Britain called Thor, we have the facilities here to put the red light energy into people, and it bucks up the mitochondria, and what it also does is it helps transfer the oxygen from the fluids outside the cells into the cells. So it's the end of the process. Split out the blood cells, open up the surface area, fill them with oxygen, and now use the red light to drive home that. So that's a very exciting thing. So again, we're talking about cellular health, and I with my engineering approach, we know that some of our cells are responding just like the solar panel. So this red light transfers into making little microscopic electrons. And the electrons are part of the energy cycle, part of that Krebs cycle, which is controlled by the powerhouse inside the cell, the mitochondria. So by increasing, making available free electrons, we're directly helping the energy cycle. So that is something which has been very helpful for people with fibromyalgia and ME, all of these things that are very difficult to treat, but they all seems to be coming back to poor mitochondrial function, almost for all chronic conditions. I think I can say that without the only cells in the body that don't have mitochondria are red blood cells. So, and in passing, a little bit of interest, so it fascinates me, I can't not mention it. Your mitochondria, the DNA in the mitochondria only comes from your mother, not the rest of it. All the other parts of the cells in the body are a combination of your dad and your mum, but the mitochondria is only. So I just think that's absolutely fascinating. It's the wonders of the body, and we're both interested in that.
Absolutely. And again, it's the transfer of information and the transfer from our ancestors. It's absolutely fascinating what we're learning. But of course, my big absolute passion is the sun, the doctor in the sky. And in Scotland, the reality is often, well, depending on your job as well, even if the sun did happen to be out in the summer, a lot of us are not outside enough to have optimum health.
Yes.
And I always talk to people about this is an energy system interacting with the unified field.
Yep.
of information, and that information, the circadian rhythm, the light cycles, is key to
Yes.
optimal health.
Yeah.
And so we can mimic that with this bed. It's also very, very pleasant. I like to just get in there and imagine I'm on the beach in
Yeah.
Malta.
Yeah.
It's again 20 minutes, which I think is very time efficient,
Yes.
given how powerful this is. Again, how many times a week would you say is optimum in the ideal world where money and time are no barriers?
Well, well-to-do celebrities install these, and sports professionals install these in their homes. So, and often they the first thing they do in the morning is take a red light therapy. So it's a bit like getting a bit of sunshine every day. So you can't just say, well, I don't need sunshine for another 2 weeks because I had some last Tuesday. You know, it's not like that. So you can top up the energy levels on a regular basis. Of course, we are situated in a location, so people have to come here. So there's travel and so on. And just touching on that, we're the only source in Scotland where we have all of these healing therapies, the biotherapies, under one roof. So it saves visiting and journey times, and you can get it all done in one hour and a half.
And we know from the research that I've been doing, asking people who have been diagnosed incurable or terminal, what would you like? What can we create that will help you now? And what do you wish had been created when you were diagnosed? And we're looking at all of that, aren't we? And
yes,
one of the things that everybody said was having everything under one roof.
Yes.
So you have the bed, but you also have the shower.
Yes, so we have the handheld shower, which is for topical application. So there are parts of the body which respond very well to infrared light, and almost like acupuncture points. And if you stimulate these, for example, around the side of the neck and on the forehead and certain parts of the head, you can access the brain functions and stimulate the neurons in the brain. So that's one of the things that's just happening automatically. You mentioned, you know, what do people want, and in the context of people with chronic illnesses, there's a lot of issues with the dietary influence on metabolism is enormous. So if you put dirty fuel in an engine, it hiccups. And so the quality of what we're putting in our mouths is very, very important. And the membranes are built up from fats. And if we have a lot of, the thinking goes, if we have a lot of seed oils, these membranes start building themselves up out of seed oils, which actually reduce the effectiveness of the membrane. So that's why our take on the world is that we need to have saturated fats that don't oxidize in the metabolism program, burn more cleanly than sugar and carbohydrates. So that would be, you know, our trend. But one of the most exciting things, I only found this out last year, was that there's a huge, and why people get drowsy and sleepy and relaxed, is that this process makes a lot of melatonin. Now, most people think of melatonin, it is the sleep hormone. And some people actually go to sleep in the last 5 minutes of the session.
Yeah.
And when the buzzer goes off and the lights suddenly go off, it's oh, what's happening? So, and the significance of that is that melatonin turns out to be one of the body's major antioxidants. And that means that right in the cell where the metabolism is taking place, where there's a risk of oxidation and cellular issues, where you need to have an antioxidant, most people think of vitamin C, melatonin is absolutely tops even glutathione as an antioxidant. And most importantly, it's right in the cell. It's not the same melatonin that comes from your pineal gland and leaks out through the body system when it's time to go to bed. So we're addressing the problem right where the problem starts. And so it's very, very powerful. And of course, if you've got, you know, cells that are thinking of will we turn to the dark side and start getting into fermentation rather than aerobic metabolism, then it's a very good way to stop the issues right where they may be starting.
The way I would describe the cell membrane issue is that, in terms of transfer of information, if you see oil on a puddle,
yeah,
and you see the light hitting it, you can see the spectrum of colours
yeah,
there. So when the light hits the skin, if we don't have a good essential fat profile, the transfer of information throughout the body can't happen.
Yeah.
The shapes of the waves are not going to be able to penetrate and
Yeah.
detox all the things that we know that the poor bodies nowadays living in a very polluted climate in terms of
Yes.
topsoil
Yes.
and waters, etc. Let's not go down that rabbit
Yeah.
hole. But yeah, it's all really about the transfer of information
Yeah.
effortlessly and understanding that your cell membrane, it's like if you have a poor essential fat profile, your cells will be contracted. And if your cells are contracted, you're not going to feel great
Yeah.
emotionally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I cannot talk to somebody about if they're feeling low, if they're feeling anxious without looking at the cell membrane
Yeah.
health and obviously the microbiome.
Yeah.
So it's all connected, and
It is. Yeah.
we're not separating it out here because we have to look at everything to really come up with the best. It's like a mystery that we're solving.
Yeah.
But these biotherapies just give you a foot up the ladder. And when you get a foot up the ladder, you'll make better choices, you've got
Yes.
more hope, more
Yes.
understanding. And you know, the Heal Scotland mission is educate, inspire, and support, and that's what can happen right here. There's hope here for our energy levels at the cellular level, and really truly starting to understand.
Yeah, most people are familiar with the winter condition where SAD, with seasonally acquired depression or something, and even with the infrared light, which is so important, we notice people's mood gets better and their energy levels go up, of course. So that's very important. Talking about wavelengths, so we maybe have a brief chat in a minute about ultraviolet, because
yes, please do. I was going to add that on.
Yeah, thanks. So, well, people are familiar that ultraviolet and sunshine is what makes vitamin D. So we have ultraviolet UVB available. Even before we had that, we had people coming here with psoriasis and skin conditions, and they were hugely helped by frequent visits. And I always remember one gentleman who had his week off work, and he came here every day for a week. He had his whole top of his body was covered in psoriasis, and he was itching and trying to come off steroids, which you always get a rebound effect when you do that. And that's it's a withdrawal symptom, and it's pretty uncomfortable. And even with that, he had, at the end of a week, his symptoms were dramatically reduced. So now we've also got ultraviolet, UVB, and UVB is that wavelength in the ultraviolet range which is responsible for making vitamin D. So we don't use all the other wavelengths of UV, which is what you might get in a suntan salon. You get we just choose the one, because the very short wavelength of ultraviolet only goes skin deep. It cannot penetrate like the infrared. So that's why overexposure to sunshine gives you sunburn. But you need it, and the sun actually is quite interesting. You have cholesterol under your skin, and it's that cholesterol which is what's converting into vitamin D, which is so protective, as we know. So you only go maximum 3 minutes. So maybe when you start with UVB, you only do 15 seconds or 20 seconds or 30 seconds. It depends on whether you're fair skinned or darker skinned, or whether you've just come back from a sunshine holiday, which sadly people haven't typically. And so there's a lot going on here. So the double hit, 20 minutes in infrared, and then whatever it is, a minute in ultraviolet UVB. We have the same equipment as used by the NHS. They're special, they're incandescent, they're fluorescent tubes that are tuned to a special wavelength made by Philips, who lead the field in this. And so we have the right equipment, and it's a marvelous, the combination of the two of them.
Yeah,
really, really good.
And I have to talk about I had what I'm assuming would be like an arthritic big toe, just in that big joint, and I got the shower infrared put on there for 4 minutes.
4 minutes, yeah.
And the pain went away. I'm still a bit like, it doesn't bother me all the time, but it's so nice not to have that pain there. So yeah, again, if you've got any if anything that we're talking about is resonating with you, if you have these symptoms, you know, people say don't treat the symptoms, treat the root cause.
Yes.
Sometimes it's nice to get the symptoms
Yeah.
managed.
Yeah.
so
Well,
that
we're
you can-
doing both actually.
Yes,
We are.
absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, I realise
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Two things are going on, but it's the chat in that world.
Yeah.
You're just treating the symptoms. Yeah, sometimes the alleviation of the symptoms, like an itch in your
Yep.
skin, or if it's cracking and breaking, can be devastating.
Yes.
So yeah, we can do both. How amazing is that?
Yeah. We have sadly a regular experience of people who are on chemo who are getting huge benefit from these three therapies, from pulse magnetic stimulation, oxygen, and infrared light therapy. Huge benefit. And chemo is pretty debilitating. Your energy levels go down, and people come in and they're sort of a bit listless and being a bit low. And literally an hour and a half later, you see them walking out of our reception area. Their complexion's picked up, their energy's picked up, and they go out and they have a livable, workable day. And that is so it's heartwarming to watch it.
Absolutely.
And we expect it, and we've never had anyone who comes off and says, "I don't feel any different." Never, you know.
Yeah, my friend who's a my friend who is a Chinese doctor said that she went to Israel as part of her training, and she said after that, over there after chemo they detox you with herbs, etc. And this obviously would be, so if anybody, because I know people coming to me sometimes when the treatment finishes, that's when the mind kicks in, because suddenly it's like, what's the body doing now?
Yes.
So it's really helpful because it's something to do, isn't it? You feel like you're doing something to help yourself.
Yes. And is that not having anything you can do. You've been told that maybe you have a terminal condition. You just in lockdown. I'm looking to the end, and all of a sudden, as you said earlier, people have some hope, have some agency over how they are, and being able to do something useful and demonstrably useful is not only a pickup for whoever is having it done. Also, the rest of the family who are worried sick about their beloveds are hugely encouraged. So it's
because I always say that, you know, the diagnosis never just affects one person.
No.
It affects the whole inner and often outer circle. I know when Joanna was diagnosed, there was my generation, my mum's generation, so sad to see this happening. All my kids, all of that. So it's really important that we all stay well, and that these therapies are impacting on a mental, emotional, physiological and spiritual level. So thank you.
Thank you, Lilia.
And come and see what was going on here, and give us a call or an email if you'd like to come and try anything out.